They knock at night, always polite, always soft-spoken. Their voices sound too calm for the hour, and their faces almost pass for normal until you notice the eyes, black, empty, waiting. And if you let them in, they don't leave. My name's the Tales Keeper, and this is Nightmare for Giggles. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next story. Tonight's tale is one whispered across neighborhoods and late-night forums. Children who come to your door, asking for shelter. Most people turn them away. Some don't. This is The Children with Black Eyes. Henry lived alone at the edge of town. Nights were quiet, predictable, coffee, TV, bed. Nothing ever disturbed him. Until the knock. It came just before midnight. Soft 3 taps on the front door. Henry frowned. Nobody visited him this late. Maybe a neighbor, maybe trouble on the road. He stood still, listening. The knock came again. Same rhythm, same patience. He set his mug down and walked toward the hall. The porch light spilled through the curtains, a pale glow across the floor. He hesitated at the knob. Something about the sound unsettled him. Not playful, not desperate, just waiting. He opened the door. 2 children stood on the porch. A boy and a girl, maybe 10 years old. Their clothes were plain, hoodies, jeans, nothing unusual. But the longer Henry looked, the more wrong it felt. They didn't shuffle, didn't blink, just stood there, still as statues, faint smiles on their faces. "Sir," the boy said softly, too softly, "we're lost. Can we come inside?" Henry's chest tightened. His instincts told him to help, but something in him resisted. His hand gripped the door frame. Then he saw their eyes. Black. Not dark brown, not shadowed. Completely black. The girl tilted her head. Her voice was calm, practiced. "We need to use your phone, please. Let us in." Henry stumbled back a step. His mind scrambled. Contacts, tricks, bad lighting. Nothing made sense. The boy spoke again, slower this time. "We can't come in unless you invite us." Henry's heart hammered, and every part of him screamed the same thing. Don't let them in. Henry's fingers tightened on the doorframe. The porch light hummed above, casting the children in a pale yellow that made their skin look waxy. The girl tilted her head again, smile frozen. "We need to use your phone. Please, let us in." Her tone was calm, too calm, like someone repeating a rehearsed line. Henry swallowed. His throat felt dry. I'll call someone for you," he said, voice shaking. The boy blinked slowly. "We can't come in unless you invite us." The words landed strange, heavy. Henry hadn't said they could, but the way the boy phrased it made his stomach twist. "Unless you invite us. Who talks like that?" A chill crept through the open door. Henry's hand hovered near it, ready to slam it shut. Every part of him screamed danger, but his brain fought back with reason. What if they were real kids? What if he was leaving them out in the cold? The girl's smile faded. Her voice grew flatter. "It's late. Please, we need to come inside." Henry shook his head quickly. No, I'll call the police. They'll help you." He reached for his phone in his pocket. The screen was black. No signal. The boy took another step forward, stopping just short of the threshold. His voice dropped, almost a whisper. "We can't come in unless you invite us." Henry's pulse hammered in his ears. He slammed the door shut and threw the deadbolt. His breath came fast, shallow, like he'd just outrun something. On the other side, silence. For a few moments, he let himself believe it was over. Then came the knock again. 3 times. Soft, patient, waiting. Henry pressed his back against the door, heart racing. He told himself they'd give up, wander off to wherever they came from. Kids lost at midnight? It didn't make sense. Nothing about this did. The silence stretched long enough for him to almost believe they were gone. Then came the knock again, louder this time. Henry's stomach dropped. He crept forward and peered through the peephole. They were still there, standing in the exact same spots on his porch. Not shivering, not shifting, not whispering to each other like children should. Just standing still, smiles faint, eyes black as ink. "Sir?" the boy said, his voice muffled by the door. "We can't come in unless you invite us." The girl echoed a half-second later, "Unless you invite us." Their words overlapped, almost perfect, like they had practiced together. Henry stumbled back from the peephole, his chest tightening. His phone felt slick in his hand as he dialed 911. The screen lit up. No signal. He tried again. Nothing. The knock came once more. This time the rhythm changed. Slower, 3 beats, then 3 again. Like a pattern meant for him alone. Henry gripped the phone and whispered to himself, "They'll leave. They'll leave." But the truth settled heavy in his gut. They weren't leaving. They were waiting. Henry decided he couldn't just sit by the door. He needed to get out, reach his car, get away. He moved quietly down the hall, every board creaking under his weight, sounding like thunder in his ears. The kitchen door led to the backyard. He grabbed his keys from the counter and reached for the knob. But as he passed the window, his breath caught. The children were there, pressed against the glass, their faces pale, their smiles frozen. Their hands rested flat against the pane, leaving no fog, no warmth, just the faint outline of skin. Henry staggered back, nearly dropping his keys. His mind spun. They hadn't walked there. They couldn't have moved that fast. The boy leaned close to the window. His lips didn't move, but Henry heard the whisper, as if it were in the room. "Let us in." The girl pressed her forehead against the glass. "Let us in." Henry yanked the curtain shut, heart slamming in his chest. He stumbled away, trying to breathe. But when he looked back, the curtains were already open again. The house filled with whispers. They came from the walls, the vents, the ceiling. Not loud, not urgent, steady like a chant. "Invite us." "Let us in." "Invite us." Henry pressed his hands over his ears, but it didn't help. The whispers weren't outside. They were inside his head. He shouted, "No, leave me alone." His voice cracked, echoing off the walls. The whisper stopped. Silence returned, heavy and unnatural. For a moment, Henry let himself hope it was over. Then came a new voice. Softer, familiar. "Uncle Henry, it's me." Henry's blood ran cold. It was Theo's voice, his nephew. But Theo lived 2 towns away, asleep in his own bed. The voice came again, right outside the door. "Please, let me in." Henry's hands shook. His mind screamed it wasn't real, but the ache in his chest said otherwise. Another knock followed. 3 times. Patient, waiting. Henry paced the living room, phone in hand, still no signal. His chest heaved with shallow breaths. The house was too quiet now, too heavy, like the air itself was listening. He edged toward the door, forcing himself to look through the peephole again. Empty porch. For a second, relief washed over him. Maybe they were gone. Maybe it had all been a cruel prank. But the silence didn't feel like safety. It felt like a trap. Henry stepped back. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed darker now, stretching longer than they should. He blinked, rubbed his eyes. whispered to himself, "Stay calm, stay calm." Then came the sound, a creak upstairs, but Henry lived in a one-story home. The ceiling groaned again, directly above him. Floorboards shifted under invisible weight. Henry's skin went cold. He didn't have an upstairs. He didn't even have an attic, just insulation and beams. But something moved up there. He grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer and pointed it toward the ceiling, half expecting dust or mice. Instead, the sound grew louder, heavier, like footsteps dragging slowly from one side to the other. "Invite us," a voice whispered faintly right above his head. Henry stumbled back, flashlight trembling in his hand. Then dust fell from a crack in the ceiling, sprinkling across his shoulders. He bolted for the bedroom, slamming the door behind him. Henry pressed his back against the door, locking it out of instinct. His bedroom felt no safer. The window curtains stirred even though they were shut tight, and the lamp flickered once, then steadied. He sat on the bed, clutching his phone. Still no service. A new knock came, not at the front door, not at the walls, at the bedroom door. Henry's breath caught 3 times. Soft, patient. Then the girl's voice. "We're cold. Let us in." The boy's voice followed, almost overlapping hers. "We can't come in unless you invite us." Henry pressed his hands over his ears, but the voices bled through, calm and steady. The lamp flickered again, then it died, plunging the room into darkness. Henry fumbled for his flashlight, hands shaking. The beam cut across the room, catching the mirror on his dresser. He froze. In the reflection, the children stood at the foot of his bed, but when he swung the light around, nothing. Empty room. Back to the mirror. The children again, smiling, eyes black and endless. "Invite us," they whispered, though their mouths didn't move. Henry threw a blanket over the mirror and collapsed to the floor, pressing his forehead against the carpet. His heartbeat thundered in his ears, drowning out everything else. The whispers grew sharper, less patient. "Invite us. Invite us." The boy's voice lowered, heavy as stone. "If you don't invite us, we'll come in anyway." Henry's blood turned to ice. His body refused to move. The air grew heavy, pressing against his chest, making each breath harder. The door rattled once, then again. Henry scrambled backward, pressing against the wall. The knob twisted slowly, clicking against the lock. "Invite us," the girl whispered, her voice now right at his ear, though she wasn't there. The knob turned harder. The door shuddered. Henry screamed, "No." The rattling stopped. Silence dropped like a curtain. And then, 3 soft knocks. Patient, waiting. Henry sat trembling against the wall, flashlight beam darting across the room. The silence pressed in, heavy enough to make his ears ring. Then, he felt it. The sensation of being watched. He turned slowly toward the window. 2 faces peered in through the glass. The boy and the girl. Their eyes weren't just black now. They glowed faintly like oil catching fire in the dark. Henry's stomach flipped. He staggered toward the curtains, yanking them shut. But the glow bled through the fabric, faint orbs burning holes in the night. "Invite us," came their voices in unison, vibrating against the glass. Henry dropped to his knees, clutching his head. "Leave me alone." The glowing eyes blinked once. Then the curtains fell still. The voices changed, softer now, kinder. The girl's tone carried a sweetness that unsettled him more than her demands. "You're lonely, aren't you?" Henry froze. The boy's voice followed. "We can keep you company." "We'll never leave." Henry shook his head violently. "No, you're not real." But deep inside, the words dug at him. He was lonely. He always had been. The girl pressed her voice. through the walls. "We'll be your family." Henry gritted his teeth, fists clenched. "You're not children." Silence. Then the boy whispered, right against the door, "Not yet." A crash shattered the silence. Henry bolted upright, flashlight sweeping across the hall. From the kitchen came the sound of breaking glass. He crept forward, every step against the carpet feeling like thunder. The kitchen window was open. Shards of glass glittered on the floor. The curtain swayed in the breeze. Henry's pulse hammered. He aimed the light across the counter. 2 small handprints smeared the surface. Wet, oily, black. He backed away, choking on a breath. He hadn't heard them come in, but they had. Henry ran to the front door. He twisted the locks, ready to flee, but the key jammed. It wouldn't turn. The whispers started again, all around him. "Invite us! Invite us!" He spun, flashlight cutting across the hallway. For a split second he saw them, standing side by side, halfway down the hall. He blinked, and the space was empty. "Invite us!" Their voices echoed. The flashlight flickered, then died. Henry stood in darkness, the whispers pressing closer, circling him like predators. Henry dropped to his knees. His strength was gone. His mind splintered between fight and surrender. The girl's voice came again, right beside him. "One word, and it's over. Just say yes." The boy added, "Let us in." Tears stung Henry's eyes. He wanted it to stop. He wanted peace. But something deeper, older, kept him silent. A voice in his gut, faint but firm. "Don't let them in." Henry clenched his jaw and whispered back, "No." The whispers cut off. The silence that followed was worse, because silence meant they were done asking. The silence cracked with a thunderous bang. The front door rattled so hard the frame shook. Then came another slam. Henry scrambled backward, eyes locked on the wood as it bowed inward. The boy's voice seeped through the walls, cold and steady. "You didn't invite us." The girl echoed, "We'll take it." The kitchen lights flared once and died, plunging the house into darkness again. Henry fumbled across the floor, hands clawing for his phone. Still no service. The door groaned as if it were breathing. Then, with a crack like splitting bone, it burst open. Wind rushed through the hall. The children stepped inside. Henry staggered to his feet, flashlight beam cutting across the intruders. They didn't move like children anymore. Their bodies blurred at the edges, shadows spilling out of their sleeves, dripping from their shoes. Their smiles stretched wider than faces should allow, splitting ear to ear. The boy tilted his head. "See? You didn't need to invite us." The girl giggled, a sound hollow and sharp. "We were already inside." Henry's breath caught. He stumbled backward down the hall, shadows crawling along the walls, spreading like mold. Every doorway he passed bled with whispering voices. "Invite us," but they were already there. Henry bolted into the bathroom, slamming the door and locking it. He pressed his back against the wood, chest heaving. The whispers grew louder, rattling the mirror on the wall. He caught his reflection, only it wasn't his face. 2 black eyes stared back at him. He screamed and smashed the glass with his fist. Shards rained into the sink, blood dripping across porcelain. Outside the door, small hands scratched along the frame, scraping, tapping. "Uncle Henry," the boy's voice called. "Please." Henry pressed his forehead to his knees, whispering prayers he hadn't spoken in years. The scratching stopped. The house fell quiet again. Then came the girl's voice, sweet as sugar. "We don't have to hurt you. All you have to do is join us." The boy followed. "Say yes. Let it in. You'll never be alone again. Henry's heart pounded. The promise hung heavy in the silence. He thought of his empty house, his lonely nights. For a flicker of a second, he wanted it. But his nephew's laugh flashed in his mind. Real Theo, alive, human. Henry clenched his fists and spat through the door. No. The whispers hissed, sharp as knives. The house shook once, then again. Then everything went still. Henry waited, frozen. Minutes dragged by. No voices, no footsteps, just silence. Finally, he forced himself to crack the door open. The hall was empty. The curtains hung still. The front door stood wide open, but the porch was bare. The children were gone. Henry stumbled outside, the night air sharp in his lungs. His yard was empty, the street silent. But deep in his chest, he felt it. They weren't gone. They were waiting. And sooner or later, they'd knock again. That was the children with black eyes. Some say it's just an old urban legend, told to keep kids from answering the door at night. Others swear they've seen the black eyes staring through the glass, waiting for the word that lets them in. Maybe it's a story. Maybe it's a warning. But if you hear that knock past midnight, remember, don't invite them. I'm the Tales Keeper, and this was Nightmare for Giggles. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, because next time, the knock might be for you.